So we're under caution at the Michigan 500. Michael Andretti has the lead behind the pace car. Rick Mears is right behind him. We'll be back right after this. We're back at the Michigan 500. Phil Kruger is still in his broken race car, sitting just off the exit of the second turn. And they continue to work with him, taking their time, being very, very careful, because so often in the olden days of racing, you just run over and snatch a driver out of the car and injure him more than he actually was injured in the accident. You look down from the Goodyear blimp riding overhead, giving another view of this accident.
Phil Kruger. Kruger is a gentle, very special man who used to work as a chef in a restaurant in Newport Beach, and then a passion for racing led him to become a mechanic so that he could get closer to it. But what he really wanted to do, has wanted to do all along, is to be a driver. He's had a real up and down career, always at the tail end of the field in these races. But I believe he's a man of immense ability, and I certainly hope that he has not again been hurt, because he's been hurt a couple of times seriously in cars.
Well, he needs Les Richter down there. I thought like that one time, Sam, and Les Richter is so big and strong, being an ex-big football player tackle, just reached down and grabbed me by the shoulders and gently lifted me out like a crane doing it. And I think that's what Phil needs right there.
And of course, they're being careful because you don't know what structure on the race car might be closed in around his feet or parts of his body. You see the field now very slowly moving past. No indication now of the condition of Phil Kruger, though obviously at first they were talking with him, and they have been doing their best to get him out of that car. The crew's all still right there with him. Well, the Michigan 500 has had a punctuated past with a number of serious accidents. These high-banked oval here has taken its toll on race cars throughout the 9-year history of this race. In 1981, the inaugural race was rain delayed a week. The green flag fell on one of the fastest 500 race fields. But as the pit stop started, Herm Johnson's car and then pit erupted in flames. The race was stopped for 2 hours. There were no serious injuries. A.J. Foyt slammed the wall and was airlifted out of the track with a shattered right arm. Pancho Carter scored his first and only IndyCar win 6 hours after the race started. In 1982, A.J. Foyt was back, only to tangle with Hector Rabake. To everyone's surprise, neither driver was injured, but the drivers began to report the tremendous physical and mental toll taken by the run on the high banks. The pole sitter, Mario Andretti, started last after destroying his car in practice. He finished second behind winner Gordon Johncock, making it a sweep for the top 2 spots for the hometown owner, Pat Patrick. In 1983, the stress on man and machine continued. The defending champion, Gordon Johncock, crashed heavily with Kevin Kogan. Johncock suffered broken legs, but kept a brave punt. On the last lap, Rick Mears was leading, being chased by rookie John Paul Jr. Paul pushed past Mears, and as he did, spoiled the air to Rick's wing, sending Mears to the wall, along with Chris Neifel. John Paul Jr. scored his only IndyCar win in a race that saw 25 lead changes among 11 drivers. 1984 may have been the most costly IndyCar race ever. Early in the run, Phil Kruger crashed, destroying his car. Gary Bettenhausen tangled with Howdy Holmes. One car literally spinning on top of the other. Both drivers walked away. Coming off of turn 2, Chip Ganassi taking Al Unser Jr. to the inside fence in a frightening crash. On the last lap, Pancho Carter flipped down the backstretch. As he hit the guardrail, he cut 12-inch posts off at the base. When the car finally came to a rest, the former champion was not injured. Mario Andretti took the win of the race after 22 lead changes between 11 drivers. 1985 saw caution flags fly 13 times for 104 laps. The backstretch claimed another victim as Danny Ongaya slipped several hundred yards. Mario Andretti slammed the wall in the first accident of his career that would cause him to miss a later race. He would be replaced in the cockpit by Formula One ace Alan Jones. Emerson Fittipaldi held on to score his first IndyCar win. Rick Mears set the current track record at 223 miles an hour in 1986 to sit on the pole. Roberto Guerrero crashed, and Mario Andretti caught fire. It was Johnny Rutherford that took the win. In '87, Mario Andretti put 5 miles on the rest of the field only to have his engine fail and give way to his son Michael. The Andretti family led 247 of the 250 laps, the fastest IndyCar 500 to that date at 171 mile an hour average. The morning of the 1988 race, Danny Sullivan had the flu. Derek Daly caught the wall hard. But despite his illness, Sullivan scored Roger Penske's first win at his own 500. The race was 180.6 mile an hour and is the record for the fastest 500 ever.
Well, here on pit road, we are still under caution here at MIS, but a lot has happened right behind me here in Team Penske. Approximately 45 seconds ago, Roger Penske signed a statement and filed it with Chuck Sprague. He instructed Chuck to take money and the statement to CART PPG IndyCar officials and file an official protest concerning the running of this race. What it revolves around is a discrepancy as to whether Mario and Michael Andretti legally passed Rick Mears on the exit of pit road. Just to cover his bases, he's filed the protest in advance just so that they can discuss it afterwards and have it all ready in the record book that he doesn't like what's going on. They did talk to CART PPG IndyCar officials for approximately 5 minutes during this caution, and seemingly not to Roger Penske's satisfaction, he's gone ahead to file the protest. Let's check in with Brian Hammonds, who has information on John Jones.
Jack, I'm with John Jones, who just left the Horton Medical Unit. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's, you know, just one of those things. I was running high, and I seen Phil coming up, and, you know, I expect him to go down low like everyone else was letting him, and he, you know, hit the back nine, had to spun around and hit the wall. I'm fine. I think he's in worse condition than I am, so hopefully he'll be all right.
All right, John Jones, he's okay. Paul?
All right, well, John Jones out of his car, no problem. He climbed out immediately, but Phil Kruger, you see he is on the stretcher being loaded into the ambulance here at Michigan International. He was involved in accidents in the Michigan 500 in both 1984 and 1985, and now again with this situation here. We certainly wish the best for Phil Kruger, and we'll try and give you an update on his condition just as soon as the CART officials and the Horton safety team report it to us. The last thing that you want to do at this point is to speculate on what his condition might be. Now let's consider this situation with Rick Mears and the protest that Jack Arute just described to you. And here is Rick as he came off of the pit stop, Bobby Unser. Now, as he's coming out, it is Michael Andretti that is closing on the main stretch. There's the line. At that point, now look, watch, here comes Michael at the right of your screen. That's Michael. Now, the assumption, Bobby Unser, that Penske is making, and that seems to be backed up, though you don't actually see the meeting at the line, is that Rick Mears got to that line before Michael Andretti did.
And what's going to happen, Paul, is Rick has a radio right to Roger Penske. Rick will have been right. He will have been knowing exactly what happened there, and Michael actually was behind him. And what happened is I think CART thinks that Mario, who was ahead of the other white car.
Well, is that Mears well ahead at this point there from the onboard camera, Bobby?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's the reason Penske would never file a protest, as he did, without Rick telling by radio that he was right. And Penske will go all the way with that, I promise.
Well, the officials seem to have been heavily involved in this particular run here. And in that situation, it certainly looks from Michael Andretti's onboard camera as if Michael was well behind Rick Mears when Rick came out of the pits, and that's the reason that Roger Penske decided to file that protest that Jack Arute reported on.
I think it's just a simple thing that it was a white car and just CART got mixed up that way is what it looks like.
Well, Mario was just ahead there. Let's go down to Jack again.